morning, everyone. Hello. It's wonderful to see you all. So many beautiful faces here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to worship with Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Intriligator. I'm the minister of this church, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Welcome to our third online worship service coming at you live from my living room. As you can see, I have liberated the church's formal chalice from our sanctuary. I decided it belongs wherever we worship and that you would like to see it here. Please don't prosecute. In the email news this week, I asked you to bring 3 items to worship with you this week. A candle or a chalice, a piece of string or yarn about 3 feet long, and a memento or a photo that you might have of an ancestor who is beloved to you. Right now might be a good time to run around the house and get those things if you need to, especially if you are already familiar with how to use Zoom. If you're not familiar with Zoom, stay here for a minute and I can show you a couple of things very quickly. First, the mute and unmute button is probably in your lower left-hand corner, depending on the device that you're using. You'll want to know how to turn that off. You'll unmute yourself only later in the service. After the service ends in our virtual coffee hour, you'll have a chance to talk then. For most of the service, we'll keep you muted. Secondly, right next to that is the video button. Please turn off your video when you leave the room or if you're carrying your device around or you're multitasking. Some people have said it can be a little bit distracting. Right in the middle of the bottom part of your screen should be a chat button, a speech bubble. It says chat on it. Use the chat box to ask technical questions, to get help, or to say hi to people, but please try to refrain from using it during the prayer or during the shared silence. Some people have found it a little distracting. Here's a quick reminder that our worship service is open to the public. If you have privacy concerns, please change your name in your Zoom window. In general, we're using just first names and last initials. The same practice holds true for our joys and sorrows ritual. Please share only first names and last initials there. Thank you. I also want to remind you that if you find this service helpful or inspiring, you may donate to our church via the church website, which is melroseuu.org. We have a donate button at the top right corner of the homepage. Half of our collection is now going to the Minister's Discretionary Fund, which supports community members who are in need. Please contact me directly if you need some completely confidential financial assistance. My email address is minister@melroseuu.org, and I'd be happy to hear from you. Please, if you like what you see here and you want to know more about our community, sign up for and read the weekly email news. You can sign up for it under news on our website, or you can send an email to our administrator. She's at office@melroseuu.org. Or you can stay till the end of worship and you'll see a link at the end slide for our online guest book. Fill in that form and you'll be connected to us. And getting connected to us is great because we are pioneering this new world of online church. We have an online meditation group, a group for quilters, a trivia night, a prayer circle, and we're also forming online covenant groups right now. Plus, every weekday at noon, we're offering a place for checking in and hanging out online, and we're calling it the Midday Oasis, just a place to have lunch with other people. And you get all the links to all those groups in the Thursday email news, so read it and get connected to us. With our online church, we are spreading the good news of Unitarian Universalism. It's a faith that embraces the questions, that reveres all the world's religions, that builds a loving spiritual community for all free thinkers and agnostics and all people who seek peace and justice on this earth. Our goal here in online worship is not tech perfection. This is not a TV show. The goal here is spiritual community. So, allow and embrace the human imperfection that will definitely be on display here today. Newcomers are very welcome. Use the online chat to introduce yourself and you'll get a link to the new guest book. Feel free to stay for our virtual coffee hour where we'll break into small groups and we'll have the chance to talk and get to know each other a little better. As many of you know, we are also in the midst of our annual pledge drive, and here for an update on that is Kathy Sang, who's the chair of our finance committee. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, I am. Well, good morning. It's wonderful to see everyone again. And I am honored on behalf of the 2020 pledge team, which is Erin Hoban-Odette, Wendy Mastronardi, Kristen Shirey, and myself, as well as the Canvas team and the finance committee. First of all, we just want to say thank you to all who've already given in your pledge. Making a commitment during these times of anxiety and uncertainty, it's not easy, and it's really appreciated. And to be quite honest, you have far exceeded the total we thought we would be announcing today under these circumstances. Your generosity and love for this community is amazing, and I'm just honored to be part of this community. So as of last night, we've received $164,578 in pledges for next year. That's over 80% of our $200,000 goal, which is an extraordinary achievement considering the circumstances. And we believe we're going to get additional pledges in the mail delivered this week, because we noticed that the latest postmark for the mail we picked up yesterday was 3/24. So if people mailed it after last Tuesday, we still haven't received it, and we will get it this week and add it to the total. So what this does is this total gives the finance committee and the board a baseline to work with as we review the proposed FY 2021 budget plan over the next few weeks. We're going to be looking at whatever we can think of to supplement the lower pledge amount through reserves, hopefully through additional pledges yet to be submitted. Can we lower proposed expenses? We're going to look at that. Can we adjust timetables? Perhaps. We've already started brainstorming ideas, being creative yet financially prudent. So as decisions are reached, we will of course bring them to the congregation for discussion and approval. So we have an agreed upon budget by the time the new fiscal year starts July 1st. So again, just a huge, sincere thank you to all who have submitted pledges to get us to this point. And those of you who've been unable to submit a pledge for next year yet, we understand it's difficult right now for you to maybe to focus on this. All we ask is if your situation changes over the coming weeks or months and you find you can make a pledge, please do so. Every pledge at whatever amount and whenever it can be made is still needed and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That is indeed good news. Thank you so much for coming and sharing it with us. She told me that this morning. I said, I don't have any confetti here. I need confetti. Anyway, thank you all so much for your generosity, especially in this time when we're not quite sure about what will happen to us in the months to come. It's wonderful that we care so much about our community, that we're keeping it strong. Thank you so much. Now is the time in our service when we generally take a moment to greet each other. Here in our online services, we've been scrolling through the screens and waving to each other in this moment, which has been really fun. Today, I just want to add a twist on that. Last week in her story, Katie issued a challenge to all of us to come up with some kind of chalice to have in your home, whether you put together 2 cups or you glued something or you made something out of paper. She challenged us to do that. So if you've done that, hold it up in your screen now. And as we scroll through and wave, we'll get to see a chance to see your chalice. Okay, thanks. Let's do it.
Sleepy.
Oh, fantastic. I saw a bunch of chalices in there. That's wonderful. And I saw some new faces this week that I didn't see last week. It's wonderful. We have one of our members here who's our longest time member, who's actually celebrated her 100th birthday recently, is actually tuned in this morning. It's so wonderful to see your face. Thanks so much for joining us. So now we proceed with our introit. This is a beautiful piece of music made by Tara, our music director. James, please put on Draw the Circle. it's time for our call to worship. These words were written just this last week by the UU minister, the Reverend Gretchen Haley. She writes, "There is enough space between us to hold all that you are carrying, all you've been waking, wondering, worrying, or wearing out with. Confusion or attempts to control, trying to find some sense of normal, all of your irritability, your curiosity, your loneliness, and yes, your joy. We can hold that too. We can hold all of it here for this time and bless it. Here we call each other just as we are, beloved. Here in this far apart space that is also close in, so much remains uncertain, with each passing breath, the ground is shifting. All we can say for sure is that we are caught in this tangled blessing of life, of grief and gratitude together, like always, except more. With all the forces of spring and the spinning of the earth, we are turning and becoming and beginning again, offering ourselves like the crocus flower breaking through with a wild beauty, ready for whatever comes next. Come, let us worship together." Now, as I light our beautiful chalice, please light yours at home too. And now we can have Chuck offer us the chalice lighting reading. Go ahead, Chuck.
Longing for wisdom. We light this chalice not simply in the hope that we will be led to wisdom, but for the spark that arises when wisdom is found. We pray for the wisdom that makes us new. We long for the wisdom that reveals the connections between us. We hunger for the wisdom that heals our hearts. May the light we now kindle together lead us back to those wiser ways.
Thank you, Chuck. Now it is time for our opening hymn, Gathered Here. Go ahead, James, and share that.
Our opening hymn this morning is Gathered Here by Philip Porter. We'll sing it through twice together, but I know that some of you know the song really well. And if you're one of those people, I invite you to sing it in a round the second time. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Spirit, draw near.
Thank you. And now, as we generally do when we worship together, I ask you to share in the words of our covenant, which James will share with you now, and I will read aloud. Go ahead and share the covenant, please. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Now is the time in our worship service where we share a story for all ages. This is a time to gather the children around the screen if you'd like to, but also a time for everyone to enjoy a story with a deep meaning that will be informing the rest of our time together. Please share Katie's story.
Good morning, friends. Our story today is The Invisible String by Patrice Karst, illustrated by Jeff Stevenson. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly, it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up. "Mommy, Mommy," they cried out as they ran to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just the storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "We want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Mom said, "You know we're always together, no matter what." "But how can we be together when you're out here and we're in bed?" said Liza. Mom held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what Mom was holding. I was about your age when my mommy first told me about the invisible string. "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. "You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love." "But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone you love. When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way along the string until I feel it tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts," said Jeremy. "Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string?" Liza asked. "She sure does," said Mom. "And best friends like me and Lucy?" asked Liza. "Best friends too." "How far can the string reach?" "Anywhere and everywhere," Mom said. "Would it reach me if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean?" asked Jeremy. "Yes," Mom said. "Even there." "Or a mountain climber?" "Even there." "A ballerina in France?" "Even there." "A jungle explorer?" "Even there." "How about an astronaut out in space?" "Yes, even there." Then Jeremy quietly asked, "Can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven?" "Yes, even there." "Does the string go away when you're mad at us?" "Never," said Mom. "Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and can't agree about things like what movie to see, or what game to play in the back seat, or what time to go to bed." "Oh, that's right, you two should be in bed." And with that, they all laughed as Mom chased the twins back to their bed. Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was still making the same loud noises outside. As they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, and all the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they now could clearly see no one is ever alone. I'm wondering if this story reminds you of any of our UU principles, or for those kiddos in spirit play, our UU promises. Which ones? I'm wondering who your invisible strings connect you to. What do you think that would look like? I invite anyone kid, grown up, or in between, who would like to create a picture or diagram of their connections to do so while we worship together. Reverend Suzanne will be making space towards the end of the worship for you all to show us your creations. I can't wait to see them.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. Earlier today and in the email news, I asked you to bring to worship a few things, and maybe you've already lit a chalice today, and I also asked you to bring a piece of string, maybe related to that story, and maybe also to bring some photos that you might have of parents or grandparents or mementos that you have around the house, mentors, teachers, any ancestors that you remember fondly. Bring those close to hand now if you'd like. Maybe just set them down next to you so you can reach them in the next few minutes as we move along. Now, every week we take some time out to center ourselves. For each of us to find quiet, find our ground of being in this sacred space that we create together in worship. So now this week, as we enter into this time of prayer and meditation, I ask you to take your hands from your keyboards and to let the chat lie quiet. Put your hands in your lap or wherever is most comfortable for you and settle into your chair. Take a nice deep breath. Every week we start this time with our centering song, which Tara will play for you in a moment. After that, we come back together and we sit together for a few minutes of silence. And then we come out of that silence with the sound of a chime. Then we share our ritual of joys and sorrows, and I offer a pastoral prayer. Let us now enter into the quiet time together with our centering song.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.
And now we share together 2 minutes of silence. Every Sunday, we share with one another our joys and sorrows, the personal milestones of our lives. We share the joys that they might uplift all, and we share the sorrows so that we might carry the burdens together as a community. In this sharing, we come to know each other and to love each other. I invite you now, if there is a joy or a sorrow in your heart, to share it in the chat space. Our friend Chuck, this year's president of the church, will read these using first names only, or first names and last initials, while I light a candle for each joy or sorrow. Go ahead, Chuck.
This is from Jean. Candle of joy. Great gratitude that Lee F. is with us today. Hello, Lee. A bright note in these troubling times. Next, we have from Gretchen L. Happy birthday to son Cameron, who turns 26 today. Also remembrance for her dad, Robert P., who died during this past week in 1998. This is from Kathy S. to everyone. A candle of concern for the daughter of dear friends in San Diego, UU ministers, who has the virus. Next is from Martha B. Concern for her brother Carl in the hospital at UCLA, recovering from a brain hemorrhage. Next one is from Tiffany G. Candle of joy from Genesis. I moved in with my grandparents this past week. And this is from Randall G. Candle of joy. Today is the 40th wedding anniversary for John and Randall. They were married here at Melrose UU Church by the Reverend Ash Steves. Next is from Ann E. Candle of concern for son Evan and girlfriend Swapna in New York City. Joy that they had upbeat call with them last evening. Next is from Corey M. Joy for daffodils. David and Corey, or actually joy for daffodils that David gave her and she planted yesterday. This is from Mary D. Thank you to the marvelous webcam fairy. She rescued me from the dark. This is from Cheryl. From Anna. I can't see my school friends. This is from the Goss family. Joy. Hannah had her cast removed. The doctor says her arm is healing beautifully. Next is from Michelle and Mike A. Whoops. No, that was.
Please read.
That was, nope, I need that. I'll skip to the next one. Next is from Kathy K. Joy that her son Dan is working at home, concerned that her youngest brother Al is looking for work in St. Paul.
Okay, read that one.
Oh, and we have one from Ann N. Happy 26th birthday to her daughter, Hannah S. And then this one is from Laura S. Candle of joy from Laura and Allison that they were able to have a makeup island vacation complete with pina coladas in place of their planned Aruba vacation with Allison's grandma. Next, we have one from Dan F. It's a candle of joy that their son Alex has been accepted to Becker College to finish his degree and is looking forward to it in the fall. And here is one from Laura E. Candle of joy that their student from Japan will be heading back to his home country to be with his family. Thankfully, he will be able to continue his schoolwork from Japan so he can get credit for this last year at Melrose High School. And And then we have one from Carol N. A thought for Joyce R.'s husband, who will receive a new pacemaker on Friday. And I think we have, I think that is, wait, I'm receiving a private message that I had missed one.
Didn't you read that one from Michelle? Sent it to you.
And I think I have, I do think I have got
Are you going to go?
all of them. Oh, I have one more. Oh no, the message I had about the one I may have missed, I had already read. And then we have one more, and this is from Jean, and it is a candle of joy for all at MUUC who have helped keep us going, especially Dan, Jean, Reverend Suzanne, and the IT team. And that is the one from Joyce that I missed.
Thank you, Chuck. Well done. There's so many candles this morning. I think there's something like 25 I set out, and they're all lit. I had some extra ones that I lit as part of my prayer today. So I wanted to say, let us light a candle for all who are sick and suffering from COVID and from any illness. We wish you peace, and we wish you healing. Let us light a candle for all the healthcare workers who are caring for people and facing risks to their own health in the process. We send you our gratitude and our love. We wish you strength and fortitude. Let us light a candle for all the other workers, police and firefighters, people in grocery stores and pharmacies, on the T, on buses, sanitation workers, all those who are still out in the world keeping it running. We pray for your health and for your strength. I also lit a candle for the poor and the homeless, those without a safe place to shelter or food to store up, especially the children. Let us all remember to donate generously during this time of need. And let us pray that our leaders and we work to create a new and better way to share our wealth. And one last candle right here for all the joys that remain unspoken and the sorrows that remain in our hearts today. Let us join together in the spirit of meditation. I invite you now to reach for the photos that you may have gathered, any other mementos that you have on hand of parents and grandparents, mentors and teachers, ancestors that you remember who helped to shape you as a person. Feel free to hold them in your hands or put them in your camera frame if you want other people to be able to see them. I want to invite us into a guided meditation this morning about our ancestors. Breathe with me now. As you do, let yourself remember your beloved ancestors. Those people from the 20th century, perhaps, as far back as you can remember. Recall in your mind their faces, the people who raised you or helped you, and the people who raised them. Can you remember the stories that they told? Did they tell you stories or did they keep them to themselves, but you could imagine their stories? Our parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles, mentors and teachers, those who grew up in the 20th century, endured so much, so many huge crises. World War I, the flu epidemic of 1918, the Great Depression, World War II, internment camps, the Holocaust, the Jim Crow South, civil wars around the world, wars of independence, famines, and refugee and immigrant dramas of all kinds. In their lives, many of them went days without eating or saw bombs fall. Maybe they witnessed unspeakable violence. Maybe they sailed on ships across oceans, fought in foxholes, farmed hard soil, lost loved ones all around them. Many worked long shifts in huge, loud factories. They put up with jobs that were difficult or tedious or soul-crushing. Many of them lived rough with hardly anything at all and survived. Many fought back illness or sang songs in bomb shelters or made cakes out of nothing or sewed everything back together. Many survived injustice or brutality, and they stood up to it when they could. They sacrificed and saved and built up for tomorrow, a tomorrow they could not see, but only hope for. Many of them risked all they had for the sake of you, so that you could have more, could have better, could know peace. And we do. And we have within us their DNA, literally and figuratively, their blood in our veins, their memory in our minds, their strength in our hearts, their discoveries in our books. We actually embody the ability to survive and endure and overcome, and we will. For the memory of our forebears, in honor and in gratitude, let us endure these times. May we be such ancestors for those who come after us. May we too learn from these times and discover new possibilities and leave behind a legacy of strength and hope and peace. Amen. Tara has a beautiful offertory piece of music to share with us. Tara, would you like to introduce it, please? Maybe Tara isn't with us, but we do have the piece of music.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, good, Tara. Go ahead and tell us about this music.
I was muted. Now is the time in our service when we would normally collect the offering if we were in our sanctuary, and I invite you to make those contributions via our website. You'll notice as James cues up our offertory for this Sunday that I've been playing with technology this week, and I look forward to having more of you involved in virtual music in the future as we learn more about connecting while apart. The piece of music is called Walk With Me by Maggie Wheeler, and each verse was inspired by a specific set of events in the world or in her own life that needed spiritual attention. And as you listen today, I invite you to think about those ancestors who walk through life with you now, and maybe also on your next walk outdoors. And James.
I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk in the service of doing what's right, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk with my neighbors to fight the good fight, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk with the promise of healing in sight, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk for the children and their right to survive, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right, to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk for the suffering, may we answer their cries. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right, to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk with the knowledge that we'll be alright. And I call on my ancestors to my left and my right, to walk with me, to walk with me. I walk in the Spirit, I walk in the light. I walk through the darkest hours of night, and I call on my ancestors to my left and my right, to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with me, to walk with me.
That was beautiful, Tara. Thank you so much. Now it's time for our reading. Today's reading comes in two interrelated parts. The first is a short poem by the American poet William Stafford, who was U.S. Poet Laureate in 1970 and died in 1993. This poem is called The Way It Is by William Stafford. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. And here is the second piece. Earlier this month, as a reflection on turning 81, the great Quaker educator Parker Palmer published these musings about Stafford's poem. Sooner or later, writes Palmer, everything falls away. You, the work you've done, your successes, large and small, and your failures too. Everything falls away, except the thread you've followed, unknowing all along, the thread that strings together all you've been and done. Follow that thread as far as you can, and you'll find that it does not end, but weaves into the unimaginable vastness of life. Your life was never the solo turn it seemed to be. It was always part of the great weave of nature and humanity and immensity we came to know only as we follow our own small threads to the place where they merge with the boundless whole. Each of our threads runs its course, then joins in life together. This magnificent tapestry, this masterpiece in which we live forever. End quote. I always drink water between the reading and the sermon, you may have noticed. And by now, you've probably also noticed that this worship service has a theme, right? It's all wrapped up in this little simple symbol. String, thread, yarn, ribbon, some of you have, I think. I practiced the other day with Tara and Katie, and they just used the wires from their headphones. I asked you to bring a piece of string with you today. And that's our theme. There was the invisible string in the story. That's the bond that connects us with the people we love, even when we can't be together. It's the bond we share with our ancestors, those who survived so much in order to make way for us. We share with them the invisible bonds of memory and love, and with our family, our parents and grandparents, we share the physical strings of DNA. We inherit from them the actual traits of strength and perseverance that they used to survive and to thrive. And then we see in William Stafford's poem, there's the string of purpose, the meaning of your life. Maybe for you, that's the work that you do, your research or your art. It's a calling that you have that carries you forward. Or maybe it's your parenting, your daily work in shaping the future of humanity. All of this talk about string reminded me of a story that I read and that I cherished as a child. And maybe you did too. Did you read the Little House on the Prairie books by Laura Ingalls Wilder? In one of them, she recalls how farmers on the Great Plains sometimes perished in their own backyards from snow blindness. The blizzards were sometimes so bad that the farmers who went out to their own barns to milk cows or feed chickens could get lost on the way back and die from exposure or frostbite. So farmers like Laura's father developed a trick. When they suspected a big winter storm coming, they would run outside first and tie a rope from the back door of their house to the door of the barn. That way, if they couldn't see their way back, they could at least still feel their way back. And I wonder if some of us are feeling a little snow blinded these days. Not literally, of course, because spring is almost here. The crocuses are out and the little buds and the green leaves. But I think many of us feel sort of unmoored these days, adrift from our usual lives, and feeling maybe like we might get lost in the sameness of every day at home all the time. It's not that we need a rope to find our way from the fridge to the sofa, but maybe we need a rope or a string to find our way back to what matters, back to our inner selves, our deeper purpose, the truth that we know, that we are all deeply connected, a truth that we are learning on a new and deeper and planetary level, thanks to this virus. And so we hold a string today as a symbol of our lifeline to one another and to all humanity. Remember that you are staying home these days, not just to protect yourself, but to protect our healthcare system, to protect the elderly, to protect the vulnerable, to protect the sick and all those who care for them. You are doing this out of love. You are literally loving your neighbor as yourself. Thank you for doing that. So, do you have a string with you today? If so, I want to ask you now to hold it in your hands and to give it a blessing. And if you don't have a string, that's okay. You can use an imaginary one if you like. That's fine. Wrap it up in your hands. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And in your mind, think these thoughts along with me, if you would. I bless you, little string. You are the symbol of my connection to my past and all my forebears, to my present and all my loved ones, to my church and all its people, to my heart and all its purpose, to the great tapestry of all humanity, the people who are suffering today, and all those caring for them. This string is my prayer for strength and wholeness and health. Amen. Now I want you to do a silly thing with me. Take that string and stretch it out in front of your camera so that it's about midway down the box where your picture is. Again, if you don't have a string, use the cord from your headphones or any cord you have lying around, but make sure it's one that isn't plugged in, please, and stretch it across your screen. We're just going to do a silly visual thing. Can you see it? So now if you go to the gallery view in Zoom, where you can see lots of boxes at once, you should see lots of people holding their strings across the middle. And it should look like, it should show you that we're all connected. That's our long, invisible string linking us all together. Now it's a little tricky maybe if you're by yourself to hold up a string and to scroll through. You need a third hand to do it. But if you stick it on gallery view, maybe it'll work. Yeah. Oh, I'm about to put my string in the candles. Okay. Yeah, there we go. About halfway through. Are we connected? Are we connected? I see some connections. I feel connected to all of you. Neat. Okay, that was a silly thing to do, and thank you for indulging me. But I hope you feel connected too. If you brought this string along and you've blessed it, if you want, you can cut the string now and tie it around your wrist or your finger, and you can take it with you and use it as a reminder of this blessing that you gave yourself. You can use it as a touch point for your week as you go through your days. Let it connect you to your beautiful good intentions. Let it inspire you, like many of us in our church are doing. Let it inspire you to sew masks or host a meeting on Zoom or phone up somebody from the church or leave a note for your neighbor. Draw a thank you on the sidewalk by the hospital with chalk. Donate to the Bread of Life. Create a front porch dance party. Let your good intentions flower into beautiful good works this week. And remember, as you look at your string, that none of us is actually separate. None of us is ever alone. All of these strings are always somehow actually braided together. In the words of Parker Palmer, they're part of all nature and all humanity, woven in a boundless whole, a magnificent tapestry, a masterpiece in which we live forever. Amen. And now, to illustrate and celebrate all that I've been preaching about this morning, I want to invite anybody who followed Katie's instructions and drew a picture of the invisible strings and all the people they connect you to. I want you to hold up that picture now to your camera so we can see it. For now, let's keep ourselves muted and just scroll through our windows to see and appreciate these fine works of art. And in just a moment, we'll go to breakout rooms and you all can have a good chance to talk to each other and a good chance to talk about what you drew. So let's just scroll through and look at the pictures for a minute, and then we'll come back here, sing a final hymn, and close worship. Does anybody have some pictures to show? Oh, I see some. Oh, I like that. That's great. Very cool. Thank you. Okay. Let us share together a final hymn which speaks deeply about all these connections, about our inheritance and how we must bring it forward and out toward the future. Please, James, sing out the journey.
Please join me in singing our final hymn this morning. Sing out praises for the journey.
Thank you, Tara. That was beautiful. I hope you all were singing at home. And now for our benediction. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown, but holding fast to one another, and with the strength of generations, we face this time together and act every day from love. Let the strings we now hold tie us together in bonds of faith toward a future that is bright and fair for all. Amen.